Welcome to the Forge Truth Podcast, where we are building great men as God defines greatness. Forge is a movement of men with a mission to help all men realize they're the deeply beloved, redeemed sons of the Most High God. I'm your producer, Zach, and I'm here to discuss the issues that affect men the most with our two hosts, Dr. Pete Alwinson, lifelong pastor and leader of Forge, and Jayson Quiñones, Bishop of Core Faith Church in Oviedo, Florida. Men, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good.
Good. You ready to go? Because we got some competition for you today.
Oh, wow.
Across the table, man.
Well, here we go.
Yeah.
How's it feel to not be the most powerful person in the room anymore, Jayson?
It's okay. I'm okay with it. I'm all right with it. I'm secure in my masculinity. I've been at Forge for 13 years we're going on?
Right.
So if I'm not secure in my masculinity by now, you haven't been doing a good job, Doctor.
Whoa.
Hey, there you
But
go.
I'm letting you know you're doing a great job because I feel very secure today.
That's great. That's great. Because we do have a competitor here.
There we go.
In studio today, we have Rolles Gracie joining us. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, an honor, and looking forward to this.
Oh, that's great.
Love it.
That's great.
Rolles is a former MMA fighter. He fought among many circuits, but including the UFC. He trains in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in Lake Mary currently, and we're excited to have you on.
Yeah,
That's great.
amazing.
I'm
really loving being here. I was looking forward to this. I've been hearing about Forge for a long time. We have friends in common.
We do. We have some friends in common that you know and that he knows. And that's great. So you train. So, where do we start with a man like this?
I think we have to start first by, can you explain to people that are not familiar with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? You're a Gracie. Tell people what that means in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world.
Big name.
It's basically like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or it's a synonym for Gracie Jiu-Jitsu or just Jiu-Jitsu. Like it's a style of martial arts that basically was developed in Brazil, perfected in Brazil, developed in Brazil by my family. My grandfather, Rolles Gracie, was the pioneer of the art in Brazil. Him and his brothers and sons and nephews and grandsons and the whole family kept developing the art. And today the world recognizes Jiu-Jitsu as like Gracie Jiu-Jitsu or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But it originally comes from Japan. But
those would be synonyms. Gracie, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, your style, your family, your grandfather really innovated.
Yes. Yeah. So things came from like how this whole thing started. Like Jiu-Jitsu back in Japan was like the martial art of the samurai. And basically, once the samurai got outlawed, outcast, things get, the Jiu-Jitsu started dying. They started rebranding Jiu-Jitsu towards Judo. And so people at the time, because anything that was related to samurai, didn't want nothing to do with it.
It makes sense.
So Jiu-Jitsu slowly started like dying until this Jiu-Jitsu black belt, this Jiu-Jitsu master, came to Brazil, and he taught my grandfather.
Oh.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. It's almost like a movie, right?
Really is.
Yes.
I think of Tom Cruise, the Last Samurai.
Yeah.
I think of that. But that puts it in perspective for me. And so it developed there. How long did it really develop in Brazil before getting around the world? Do you know?
2025, last year was the year of the 100th anniversary of the first Gracie Academy ever.
Wow.
That opened in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
Wow.
Yeah. So last year we had like a big family celebration, a family reunion with some students, some friends, and we have like over 1,000 people on the mats. We had to, at one point, we couldn't let more people in because we didn't have space. So easily 100 years since the first Gracie Academy, but my grandfather started before that.
Yeah. And not only did the Gracies, invent the Brazilian form of jiu-jitsu, but they've been dominant in it. What pressures are there as someone growing up in the Gracie family?
Well, I usually like to say that, like in my family, it's a little bit like we did like the Spartans used to do, like oh, you pretty okay, you're gonna go be a fighter, throw off the cliff.
No pressure. So no pressure at all. No pressure.
I'm joking, but like no, honestly, like I can speak for myself, but things with me happen very like organically and very like stress, pressure-free environment. I grew up learning jiu-jitsu like in a playful way.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was like playful, nothing like forced or the big structure like really like you gotta do this, you're gonna be a world champion one day. Nothing like that. Just like everything like fun and games, playing, enjoying, and when you realize you just doing and following the footsteps.
Yeah. At some point, there's a realization that you're a Gracie and you want to continue it.
Yeah.
Was that kind of your experience? But you didn't feel the guilt and pressure.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what happened. Yeah, I had like great example of man in my family. I lost my father I wasn't even 4, like when I lost my father. But I say that again, like multi-father figure. Because a lot of my uncles and cousins, they step in, help, like they were around. And I usually like to say that to me, it felt like growing up like in the legal justice or the Professor X mansion, like all my heroes are around and I felt like always super protected. That's the type of environment I grew up in. Like you said, in one day you realize, but I always wanted to be, not necessarily like them, but like do what they were doing.
Wow. I love that just as a practical application for discipleship.
Yes.
When you think about being a disciple of Christ and discipling your kids, if we make it just a natural thing, it's not like, hey, we just trying to cram scripture down somebody's throat. Like, hey man, what did you learn today? Just kind of walking through the day by day, or hey, I read this, and what do you think about that? I think that's a beautiful picture of discipleship. I think so.
It is. We can raise our kids with guilt or grace,
right?
And if we're guilting them all along the way, that's going to send them away from Christ. Right. But by graciously bringing, and by the way, your last name is Gracie.
Yeah.
Is it Grace? Is it? I know it's a Brazilian name. It's a Portuguese last name, correct?
It actually comes from Scotland. Yes.
And does it mean grace? I mean,
what does it mean?
Yeah.
Now you got me.
We just put him on the spot, right?
I know
exactly. I never thought about it.
We're gonna say it's from grace.
Yeah,
it's from the biblical idea of grace. And here,
I like
Zach's
that.
figuring it out
correct
right now.
us, and
Yeah.
But there it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's great.
It means shoemaker.
Okay. Well,
Yes.
Does it really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. There it is. Okay.
But we'll go with grace.
Foundation. Foundation. I don't know, whatever. Something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Good. I like it.
But I
Okay,
love
so
that.
you ultimately did begin competing
Yes.
in MMA, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, like I said, things were very organically and naturally, right? But when I realized I was competing, I started first competing like a lot in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu back in Brazil. Grew up. That was basically my main form of sport or competition. And then eventually when I moved to the US, I moved here with the goal of pursuing an MMA career. So that's how my move to the US happened. I decided to move to New York, where my cousin Henzo, he was, and actually a couple other cousins as well. One of his brothers and another cousin. They were competing in Japan a lot in MMA, which at the time was like the biggest MMA organization in the world. It used to be called Pride Fighting Championships. And I wanted to fight there. I saw these guys fighting there, making money there, and I was like, I gotta go to New York, and because I feel that that's my calling. And eventually moved there. But shortly after I moved to New York, the UFC bought Pride, and to me it was one of the saddest days professionally wise, because I was like, man, I wanted to fight in Pride. Now there's Pride no more, you know?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I took a different, competing other events, including the UFC. Was blessed to travel the world, see the world through fighting. And it was a run.
Have you seen the movie The Smashing Machine? I just watched that movie.
I have not.
Oh, okay. It's
Not
about
yet.
Mark Kerr, and
Yes.
it's really kind of that, almost that time, maybe a little bit earlier, the early 2000s in the fighting circuit in Japan and in UFC. It was super interesting.
Interesting. Sorry.
Yeah, no, go.
But interesting that you mentioned Smashing Machine and Mark Kerr. I think the documentary, like, it was released like around that time when Pride was still happening. And I remember, not because of the documentary, but I was a lot in the backstages of Pride watching my cousins fight and stuff. And backstage, I remember, like, I was young, but I was measuring myself, next to these guys, the heavyweights. I'm like walking next to them. Yeah, like I think like I match up. They're not much bigger than me right now. You know, so I was like, I think I can. Yeah, I can step up.
That's
I
great.
mean, I've watched a bunch of MMA, particularly with my son John, and we love to watch it. But I can't imagine how you have got to train so hard, and then when you step in the octagon, I mean, it's a big deal, and I can't imagine what you feel like after a fight, even if you've won, right? So what are some impressions of fighting, and then we want to hear about how you came to Christ, and how that even changes you. But what's it like stepping into the octagon?
Yeah, definitely. Like, it was like stepping in the octagon. Not gonna say it's there's always, somebody say there's no pressure. They're probably lying to you. Like there's always there's to minimum a responsibility,
Right.
to be there, right? It's not to be like to step in there like if you're I'm gonna win or I'm gonna lose. I think it's a little bit like reckless mentality too, right? I think, but every time I competed, whether it was in jiu-jitsu where there was no punches or kicks, or in MMA, I was there because I had a mission, I had a goal, I wanted to win. Right? But it's interesting because you said you're gonna lead up to how I came to Christ, but something, and you asked me, how does it feel to win and stuff, or lose? If momentarily it feels really good or feels really bad. Depending if you win or lose.
That's right. That's right.
But shortly after, like, and especially to me, I can speak for myself. And of course, I'm not going to speak for anybody else. But, okay, I went there. I prepared myself, weeks, months preparing. I competed. I won. Yeah, I won, And then you're by yourself in the room, putting your head, and you're like, now what? Just done that like a couple hours ago. Now what? To me, there was always like
something missing.
Something's missing for sure. Oh, maybe okay, I'll go out, celebrate with the friends, like in the time that you go back to the hotel, because they're always fighting like it was, and you put your head on the pillow, or the next morning, like, now what? It's time to take a break and train for the next one. And then the next one comes, maybe you lose, and you're like, I lost. Okay, that's horrible to lose, but now what? So to me, there was always that feeling, right? There's something was like missing, like there was like this void there, like you never felt like fully complete.
Yeah. Wow. So that played a big role in you coming to Christ. How did you receive Christ? What happened?
I didn't come to Christ just because I hit like rock bottom or something like major traumatic, or I didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, to me, it wasn't on a moment like that. It was basically like I started thinking about it. Just started thinking about it. I think like maybe like not that my life was chaotic, but to me, I started to see how the world around me was a little bit chaotic. And I was like, man, gotta have, always the question, like, it's gotta have more than this. It's gotta be. And it's funny because I grew up in Brazil. Brazil is, if you go by the polls, you're gonna see some more a predominant Catholic country.
Mm-hmm.
But it's basically because everybody wants to get married in the church, and everybody gets baptized. So it's basically it. But who actually goes to church, it's not a lot. So that was my case. I was baptized. I got married in the church. Got divorced after. But religion wasn't something like, or God. Like, it's not that I was like against God or reluctant to. I was just like never paying attention. I lived my life like in a self-reliant way. I was thinking about it like, I gotta make things happen. I have to make things happen. I put myself in trouble. I gotta get myself out of trouble. I need to. If I need more money, I need to make more money. If I need to be a better athlete, I need to turn myself into I need to train more. I need to have a better. But fast forward to June of 23, or somewhere maybe before, I started to think about it. It's like, man, gotta be something else about it. And I started just thinking. And at the same time, my wife, for her own reasons, was already thinking about God herself. And we have very similar stories. I'm an athlete, travel the world, being self-reliant, earning, breadwinner, earning. She was a international model, traveled the world, never really thinking about God or anything. And she started thinking about God around the same time. Interesting, right?
No coincidences with God, right?
Yes. Right. And one day, like usually on my routine, I get home, and usually either I'm training or teaching, and I get home, she's already, if not in bed, getting ready to be in bed. So I usually get home, I eat something quick, shower, and I jump in bed, and that's it. This night was a Friday night. I got home and she's downstairs hanging out. No TV on, nothing. And we sat on the couch and we started talking about it. And the conversation pretty much led to a brainstorm session about the existence of God. So we started brainstorming about it, but what if it was like this, what that, And basically we came to the conclusion that God was really plausible. And if there was like this all-powerful, almighty creator, everything that we didn't know much about Jesus then, but we knew that he was born of a virgin birth, crucified, resurrected. So I said, you know what, this is very plausible. If there's this like guy in the sky, that created everything, I think everything about Jesus, it's just a little, you know what I mean?
It could be true.
Yeah,
it could be true.
Yeah.
So we went to bed like that, right? The next day, on a Saturday, and we were new to Lake Mary. We were new to Florida. We moved from, we didn't know anybody. So one of my daughter's friends, she was like 3 years old at the time. She came over to a play date from her child care, So the mom and the girl came over to our house, and they played, they're hanging out there. And don't quite remember if it was before she went or she sent us a text after she left. She goes, "Don't you guys want to come to church with me tomorrow?" And I was like, look, I got goosebumps.
Yeah.
So, my wife came, "Honey, you want to go to church tomorrow, man? Invite us to go to church." And I was like, "What kind of church is this?" "Which church?" And she goes, "Yeah, let me ask." So she started asking, inquiring, and we said, like, "What, the church? 3 minutes away from the house?"
Yeah.
"Let me go on Google." "Yeah, seems like a okay church. Let's go check it out." So next Sunday we're there, and everything else is history.
Wow.
Yes.
So at some point in hearing the gospel preached, you and your wife both committed yourself to Christ.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Amazing.
Shortly, we were doing the discipleship program that church has. We are baptized.
That's so great.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's great. And now on the other side of that, now that you and your wife, your family are Christian, how has that changed your relationship with jiu-jitsu, with fighting, with that kind of whole world?
Yeah.
Yes. That's a good question because it changed, right? It changed. I felt like out of a sudden I really felt like complete.
Mm.
I feel like that hole inside the chest was like healed, and it definitely like made us understand and know that we have God, that we could trust somebody else and not rely on our own strength, right? So
Mhm.
that carried over to all aspects of our lives, right? We had some turmoils in the business, and if it was a different time, I'll be like, During this time, I was just like, okay, God's got our back. But just on how we teach, I always was a guy that in my wife as well. But we always wanted to. We always created an environment, a culture within our studios, we call academies, that with good morals. If like with
Mm-hmm.
like I always look to have like good principles, a good environment for everybody else.
Right.
So to that wasn't in that manner. It didn't have a big change because I feel that was kind of there for. But what changed a little bit, like one thing that I started like struggling with was with bowing.
Ah,
Martial arts is a lot of bowing.
a lot of bowing. Mhm.
People bow to the mat, bow to the picture, bow to each other. And that to me, I was like, man, I don't think I should be bowing.
Yeah.
I don't think that's like,
Interesting.
so like I was never very, to be fair, I was never very like, my place was never full of rules, right?
Mhm.
People bowed, sometimes I would bow, but since then, I don't do these practices anymore. I never some gyms, they play like music. I always like the more quiet environment. So I didn't have to deal like, okay, now I cannot play like secular music here anymore. So
So you're always more quiet at any rate.
yes,
Yeah,
exactly. So I think like, and that's one of the things that to me, like it carried over, the discipline and stuff like that. So always kind of, that's why I feel like there's a lot of similarities.
So it did affect. Interesting. Not bowing. You had one person that you bowed to, and that was God, and
Yes.
and that affected everything. And that, by the way,
Yes.
that's a great principle. Shall no other gods before me. But so it seems to me to be a good thing for a man, a boy, and a man to learn how to handle themselves physically. It seems. And yet, as Christians, we don't want to obviously abuse that. We would only want to use that in a dire circumstance to protect somebody else,
Yes,
unless we were doing it as a sport. Per se.
absolutely.
So, would you agree with it that it's a good thing for boys and men to learn how to handle themselves physically, and jiu-jitsu is a good way to do that.
Oh, absolutely. I think I always thought that jiu-jitsu was a very powerful tool for people in general. But like we as men, we are called to take care of our families,
Mm-hmm.
right? Take care to people around us. So definitely, like I think jiu-jitsu is a great tool, empowerment tool.
Mm.
It will teach you how to think under pressure.
Mm.
Will teach you that to be comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Mm.
It will teach you discipline. It will give you like a better level of fitness,
Mm-hmm.
right? So yes, absolutely.
Yeah, my impression of people that I've met that do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is the confidence that they have, just knowing that they know that they can handle themselves in
Right.
certain situations. And it just seems like they're less likely to panic, right? Like they feel more comfortable and confident that they can, handle themselves, not just physically, like in a fight, but just in general, like. And what I like about jiu-jitsu is it feels like physical chess. Like that's what it seems like. It seems like the thinking man's martial arts because it's all about problem solving, right?
Yes.
Wow.
All the time.
All the time.
Every second is problem solving.
Knowing what's happening and then how to address what's happening.
Exactly.
And then, like you said, I like the way you said it earlier, saying you had a mission. If fighting was going on mission.
Yes.
And we want through Forge, we want men to think of themselves, Christian men to think, I am on mission to advance the gospel of Jesus Christ. And not just to go along with the culture, but to be on mission. We also talk about a man getting in shape, stay in shape, never get out of shape. To in a sense, understand that the body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. That's true. And we have to keep our body in shape enough to be used over the long haul.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
I think I would love to see more men get involved in that kind of. I wish I'd done martial arts training when I was young, and I did not.
Yes.
But I wish.
We can, right after this taping, you guys can roll.
We could start,
Yeah.
I suppose, right now. Yeah.
Obviously, it takes a lot of discipline to achieve that level of training, to achieve some of the things you've achieved. Now that you're a Christian, you know that the Christian life takes discipline as well.
Yes.
So what are some parallels you see? What is some advice that you would have as far as how to be disciplined in the ways that are important?
That's good.
Yes. It's like, I love I love analogies, right? I love comparing, I think jiu-jitsu gave me like a great foundation. I think God built me first in a way, right? And then okay, now my son, here I am, come to Papa. So I feel like the foundation, like I was forged in a great environment, like you said, like the discipline, I think it carries over big time because you have to get out of bed and show up to training. You have to get out of bed and get on your knees and pray. You have to get off your, you have to get out of bed and you have to go training and then you have to eat a good meal and then you have to go to the next training session, whether it's raining, shining, doesn't matter, snowing. Here in Florida, we're very blessed. Right. We don't have snow in our way. But so I feel and that discipline transferring, okay, I gotta pray, I gotta have my time of devotion, I have to worship, I have to be intentional, right? I have to go to church, I have to study the word, I have to share the word, I have to, so all these things are, like you said, Doctor, it's a mission.
It's a mission.
And being obedient, right? Another thing that's important that to me it transfers over is because we all being discipled by something, and everybody in the world is being discipled by something. Like what you're being discipled to, right? And in martial arts, in jiu-jitsu, it's also something was we always have the figure of authority on a mat that we kind of need to submit to surrender, to listen to. And in discipleship, with Jesus, the same thing, but he's the ultimate one.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. So,
I love that analogy. And in a very real sense, a lot of men experience that when they come to faith in Christ. They have finally met the one who is stronger than themselves.
Yes.
And to whom they can legitimately submit themselves.
Yes.
That is a great analogy of what the gospel is. Follow me. Deny yourself. Take up your cross. Follow me.
Yeah.
I
named my son Jacob. And part of the reason was because I wanted him to wrestle with God. I wanted him to grapple with God and really decide if that's something that he wanted for his life, you know? And that was the original jiu-jitsu story in the Bible.
I love it. That's
Yes.
great.
They say that Jacob was the first grappler ever.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. I have new respect for him. That's awesome.
So I mean, as you just gave these analogies, right? Like, are you discipling other men or people through jujitsu? Are you using that like to teach these lessons specifically?
Yeah, all the time. No, it just depends. The approach just depends on who.
Right. Right.
If it's my close friends,
Yeah.
it's more an apologetic type of. No, I'm joking, but but yes, also, but like I don't necessarily like preach while I'm teaching, right? But I don't shy away, and people know, who I am, my faith, who's my Lord, and every opportunity I have, I talk about our Lord.
That is great.
That's good.
What is the name of your academy in Lake Mary?
Rolles Gracie Academy in Lake Mary, but if you somebody Google or search Rolles, it's not with an H, it's with an R.
I love that, right? So that's what I had to get straightened out first, and you straightened me out. So that is great. All
For
right.
sure. Well, we really appreciate you coming on and talking to us about your story and giving us some advice for our guys. It's great to have you on.
Oh, it was an absolute pleasure. Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
And that's so
great.
awesome.
Fantastic. Well, I want to thank everyone at home for listening to this episode of the Forge Truth podcast. If you have any questions or comments about the show or what we talked about today, you can email us at forgetruth.com. You can also learn more about the Forge movement by going to our website, forgetruth.com. Pete, why don't you lay a challenge down for our men?
Okay. Hollis, thank you for being with us. We're so thankful. And we men are physical, but we are spiritual too. And so I think directly of that principle where the Apostle Paul says, discipline yourself for the purpose of godliness, and how important it is that we understand the grace of God unleashes us toward wanting to grow in the grace and knowledge of Jesus Christ. But it does take personal discipline. And so to my brothers out there, learn from a giant of a man, Hollis, and discipline yourself for the purpose of godliness, for our world needs great, strong men who are disciplined for the glory of God.